All right, greetings everyone. Now this is the last video lecture for this week, and it is basically outlining the readings and essay questions, the assignments that you are going to be doing now individually. Now, as I'd said the first day, let me just pull up you will get a little handout like this. It should be sent to you via Elvira or her assistant for what you should do in response to each readings. Now, there's two readings that I am asking you to look at, and I actually have an extra exercise that we can call extra credit if you want to do it just for fun. The two readings, the first one is by Vernon Yancey, who is a relative of mine, but it's not my article. It's a different person. I like this article. There's many articles out there that describe the different development paradigms, but I liked Vernon's because he was specifically writing about non-governmental organizations and the way that they acted as they drew on these different paradigms. It's a relatively old article now. You can see it is written in 1990, but it's still very good. And I would encourage you to read it. It starts here on the second page. You can ignore the stuff on this first page. It says Paradigms of Development. If you want to read it, you can. It's more sociological. The second page is where Vernon's article starts, and he basically goes through the three different paradigms. One thing you don't have to, that he actually tries to develop a fourth paradigm, because this was right at the beginning of the Cold War was ending, and people were wondering what was going to be next, and the editors of this book asked him to speculate on what the next development paradigm would look like. And that's where he wrote this global interdependence one as sort of speculating. It turns out, in retrospect, that he was a little bit wrong on that one. He got some of the ideas of globalization, but really, when you look at globalization, you can actually interpret responses to globalization pretty much through the other three paradigms: growth with equity, liberation, and modernization. And I have some handouts that we will discuss during the question and answer period to sort of illustrate that. But he raises some interesting questions about Christians and development workers and how they interact or intersect. Like, are certain Christians more interested in certain types of development than others, and what types of development are they interested in? So there, at the end of the article, there's some study and discussion questions, and I circled the ones that you could use as part of your essay, just as a suggestion. But so I would read Vernon's article first. So this is the one that sort of outlines the paradigms and kind of connects well to the theories that in history lectures that I'd given right before this. The other article that I want you to read is the first three chapters of Bryant Myers' book, Walking with the Poor. This is Bryant Myers, I hope you know, is a vice president of World Vision, and this book has been a major influence on a lot of the way that World Vision talks about development. You notice it's principles and practices of transformational development. The book's about 10 years old now, but I think it's still extremely relevant. He's basically, in his first three chapters, chapters 1, 2, and 3, he's reflecting on the things that they've learned as a result of their errors, their failures, and he's sort of outlining some of the key learnings about how to approach community development from a Christian perspective. It's kind of funny. One of his quotes in the book is something like, for the first 20 years of our work, we did many, many things, and we hope that God will forgive us for those, or something like that. Basically saying that they learned a lot through failure, and they generated a lot of negative unintended consequences. And his book here is trying to highlight those things that he sees as not creating negative unintended consequences, but promoting positive consequences in development. So it's very important to read. Anybody who's doing development for World Vision should read this book. For the purposes of this class, I'm just having you look at the first 3 chapters. And especially chapter 3 is really interesting because he reflects on how do we think about poverty and the poor, and he highlights an issue he calls the God complex in development workers. And I think almost every World Vision employee should read that section for sure. So these are the 2 readings I'm going to have you look at for this first week. So I have some instructions here. One of the things I want to highlight is that these should be relatively short reflections. 1,000 words, that works out to about 4 pages. If I'll do word count on them, but 1,000 words per each book, or per each article. And I'd like to highlight again that you should write in SHIP, unless you're an English speaker, unless you're like a native English speaker, like an American or a British. But if you're not an American or British, then you should write in SHIP. I can certainly read SHIP well enough to understand what you are writing about. Now I have a number of different questions here for each of the readings. Now I don't want you to just go through and try to answer every question. What I want you to do is think about how you would respond to the article. What did it make you think of? How did you react to it? How did you make you feel? Were there some things you agreed with, some things you disagreed with, and so forth? What I would see these 7 questions as being is simply thought stimulators. In other words, you don't have to answer every single question, but if you find one that is particularly interesting, like let's say this one here about what images pops into your head as a result of your thinking about the poor through how Myers is writing about it, then write about that. So use these as ways to guide your reflections, but you certainly don't have to use all of them. You can use more than one, but but don't go. I particularly think this God complex is a very important question. Hint, hint. But you don't have to do all of these questions. Same as for the Jansi article. You notice I said here I would like you to read and discuss 2, 6, 8, 10, and 11, but you're not required to read and discuss every single one of those. It's more of, if you want to know how to start writing about it or how to frame your reflection, use 1 or 2 or even 3 of these questions, but you don't have to answer all of them. What I want to see is a good reflection where you integrate ideas from the lectures, ideas in here, and ideas from your own life, and are sort of reflecting on and mulling on the implications. So actually, if I should write it down here because it's I think I would want to see a reflection that generates, that makes connections. I should start with, so makes connections between different themes, generates new insights for yourself about your work, your context, or development, and discusses implications. What does this mean? What would this imply? So I will grade you based upon these 3 themes. Did you make connections? Did you generate insights? And did you discuss implications? The specific questions are more just if you want a way of starting the conversation, and you certainly don't have to do all of them. Now, I really enjoy looking for songs that sort of highlight or illustrate different principles in my classes. So I did have a bonus section here. If you want extra credit, or if you want to do this as a way of connecting back to my lectures, I would encourage you to listen to these. This is also an excuse for you to be able to listen to YouTube songs during work and call it work time. Alida Hisku sang a song Nierezite Agimova, which was for the 1974 Festival Likangas, I believe. It's a beautiful song, and I think in many ways it perfectly highlights the feeling of modernization sort of proponents, how they viewed the future, what they saw happening. So I would encourage you to listen to those lyrics very closely and think of it as a sort of a song that is sort of idealizing modernization principles. For Growth with Equity, there's a song from the 1980s called Bruce Hornsby called "That's Just the Way It Is," that I thought very well illustrated some of the key sort of concepts behind growth with equity. And then for liberation theory, the Black Eyed Peas sang a song called Union that I thought had a lot of sort of themes that connected very well to liberation theory, sort of how liberation theory would interpret the world. So if you want, as an exercise, you can listen to these three songs and show me, like, what did you hear in the lyrics that reflects each of these paradigms and why. So what did you hear in here that would reflect back to modernization theory? What did you hear in here that it illustrates the growth with equity principles? And what did you hear in here that illustrates liberation? Again, they're not obviously singing about development work, but I think there's a lot of overlap. So if you want to do the bonus, you can. You're not required to. But if you want to listen to music and write about it, this would give you an opportunity to do that as well. Okay, if you have any questions, as I said in the first day, please email me or Skype me. I will be traveling in Afghanistan, but my email is terrence.jancy it's terrencejancy@gmail.com. So if you email me to that address, I will respond to help to clarify what you would be doing. Now, I would like to have these essays due, let's say, by the end of the first, I'll say a week from, so Monday, if you could send, I'm looking for my calendar now, hold on a second. If we are starting, I'm not sure, I'm assuming we're going to be starting the first week in March, which would be the 4th through the 8th. So if that's the case, then I would like these due on the Sunday the 10th, if you can send me those essays by then. All right, everybody, I hope these video lectures were helpful for framing this class, some of the key background concepts, and hopefully it wasn't too boring. We're experimenting with how we can do this kind of distance learning class, and I'm trying out these mini recording lectures. So when we meet the first day after the trips, which I think will be Monday the 11th or Tuesday the 12th, assuming that the start date is as I anticipate now, then I would like to have us discuss a little bit about the process itself. Did it work to do these videos and so forth? Or maybe we can do that at the end of the class period as well. All right, good luck. Have fun reading those articles. They should be available to you via Elvira in World Vision Albania. I'm sending her all these articles as well as the links for these lectures. All right, thank you very much and have a good day. Over.